and welcome to my channel. My name is Martine, and if you are new here, I do videos on Vedic astrology mainly, but also with some tropical astrology insights, and I focus on both relationship and natal astrology. And if you like this video and you would like to see more content from me, please like, subscribe, hit the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. Also, please comment in the comment section with anything that you would like to give as feedback for this video. And also, if you're interested in a personal consultation, I do consultations on a wide variety of topics. You can check out the video description. I will leave my contact information there. Thank you. And also, I have started a tarot channel more recently than this channel. And I'm also going to be linking that in the video description. In case you like tarot, you might want to go ahead and check it out. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, maybe consider subscribing if you are interested in tarot. Thank you. So, today's video is going to be about transits for 2023. And as I said, I am starting with Aries because that was the first sign that I extracted among my ruffles. So I'm going to start as usual with an introduction, and this introduction is going to be the same for all of the videos in this series for 2023. So if you listen for it once, then it will be the same for all of the videos in this series. So mainly I'm going to start by saying that as I also mentioned last year, you can use these videos with predictions for 2023 for your moon sign as well as for your ascendant sign. You probably remember that I mentioned that you can take your moon sign as ascendant and look at the rest of your planets from your moon sign, and that is called a Chandra Lagna chart. Meaning literally taking the moon as an ascendant and looking at the rest of the placements from the moon. And especially if the moon in your horoscope, in your natal chart, is in a lower degree than the ascendant or the Lagna, it might be particularly relevant for you to look at the moon chart as opposed to the Lagna chart. Both of them are important though. It's just that in certain situations, the Chandra Lagna or the Moon Lagna can be more important when it comes to predictions. Okay, that's something that I wanted to say. Also, I have divided the year into three main parts as usual with respect to transits. Now, in the first roughly 2 weeks of 2023, the placements will be basically very much the same as they were in the end of 2022, or as they are going to be at the end of 2022. So if you want to see your predictions, you can just go back to my 2022 series and rewatch the chart 3 phase for the ascendant that you have or the moon sign that you have in my videos for 2022. I'm gonna link the playlist for 2022 transits in this video description. So go ahead and watch that for the roughly 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of 2023. So from January 1st until roughly January 14th, 2023, when Saturn is going to be in Capricorn. So the main divisions that I have looked at for 2023 are from roughly January 14th until April 19th, 2023, when Rahu is going to be in Aries, Jupiter is going to be in Pisces, Saturn is in Aquarius. The second chart is going to be when Rahu, from around April 19th until December 2nd, 2023, when Rahu is going to be in Aries, Jupiter is going to be in Aries, Saturn is going to be in Aquarius. And then the final section is going to be from December 2nd until the end of 2023, or roughly December 31st, 2023, when Rahu will be in Pisces, Jupiter in Aries, Saturn in Aquarius. So these are the three main sections that I will be looking at for all ascendants. And if you look at the chart, I have marked the planets. RA means Rahu, JU means Jupiter, SA means Saturn, KE means Ketu. And I will be marking the aspects for each of these with a different color. Yellow for Jupiter, red for Rahu, or pink for Rahu, gray for Saturn, and that's about it. I haven't marked the Ketu aspects because Ketu is always opposite Rahu. Okay, so Ketu, just like Rahu and Jupiter, also aspects the 5th and the 9th houses from itself in addition to the house that it opposes. So this is just for you to know, but I haven't marked them, these aspects, Ketu's aspects, on the chart just to keep it, simple. And yeah, this is pretty much what I wanted to say as an introduction. And now I'm going to get into the individual descriptions for the sign at hand. So welcome, Gemini. This is the video for predictions 2023 for your ascendant and or moon sign. So I do remind you before I get into it that you can apply these interpretations for your moon ascendant. So just taking the moon as your ascendant and looking at the rest of the planets. And this is especially true for those of you who have your moon sign in a lower degree than your ascendant. So, chart 1 phase, as you can see on the screen, from around the middle of January 2023 until April 19th, 2023, when Rahu will be in Aries, Jupiter in Pisces, Saturn in Aquarius. So, the first thing that really kind of stands out to me right off the bat is that this is definitely going to be a great year for career progression for you, because you have Jupiter ruling both the 7th and the 10th house. And the 7th is the 10th from the 10th house. It's something called a Bhavad Bhavam concept. So in a way, both the 7th and the 10th house are signifiers of a person's career and reputation. And Jupiter is the great benefic. Jupiter will be going in its own sign during this time. So this means that it's particularly strong and beneficial for you. Jupiter going through the 10th while ruling the 10th and the 7th definitely shows that this is going to be a great time for promotions, maybe new job opportunities. So you could be getting a better paying job during this time. In any case, you could be getting also a lot more recognition. That's another thing. And this is especially true for people who are already working in positions where they are consultants of some kind. So basically, if, let's say, Jupiter in your horoscope is already in a nakshatra that is ruled by Jupiter, you're going to be especially favored by this transit. But you're still going to be favored irrespective, actually. And people, especially who are working in fields of, the legal system, or who are consultants in any kind, who are teachers, guides, mentors, people who are connected to spiritual professions, even religious leaders, also to some extent, people who are managers to some extent, because a manager is also kind of like a guide in a corporation. However, with Jupiter going through the 10th house, Jupiter itself is not in its happiest placement when it is in the 10th house. So it's kind of like a bittersweet situation where, on the one hand, Jupiter being there, being the great benefic, will definitely bring a lot of opportunities. It will likely increase chances of higher monetary gain. However, you need to be careful because Jupiter is a planet that is very moralistic. And going through the 10th house, you might find yourself during this year, or especially during this time, that you are questioning whether you still want to work in the same job or for the same company, if this company or this job is not in line with your spiritual view and your moral ideals. So this could be literally your religious, beliefs. This could be your spiritual beliefs. Somehow there might be friction in your workplace, or there might be a greater dissatisfaction on your part because of your belief system. And you might find yourself, like maybe let's say you're a devout environmentalist or a vegan, and you find out that your company somehow is contributing massively to pollution, or maybe polluting the ocean. Just to give you an example off the top of my head, you're probably going to find it very hard to continue to work there, and it's going to be really hard for you to not judge this company, because Jupiter just makes you reflect on how your work is contributing to the greater good, basically. And also just literally how the work environment, how your career is in line with your beliefs and your values in life. So this is something that is important for you to understand, because it might also cause conflicts during this time. You might put yourself more easily in a position where you might be judgmental, or maybe even come across as a little bit patronizing to the people at work. And this might especially rub your superiors the wrong way. And this is especially true since you're also having Saturn transiting through your 9th house throughout this entire time. In fact, Jupiter is going to move into Aries around April 19th, but Saturn will stay in Aquarius basically throughout this entire year. So Saturn's being in your 9th house can show friction with mentors, superiors, father figures, teachers, stuff like this. Ironically, it can also show some friction with, let's say, your gurus, or like your religious guides, if you have them, religious teachers. But especially during this first time of the year, these first few months, there is an especially higher chance of friction with some superiors at work because of this combination of Jupiter and Saturn. Basically switching houses. Okay, that's one thing that really stood out to me. However, like I said, overall, this is a great position because, yes, opportunities for work. Jupiter is also aspecting the 2nd and the 4th and the 6th houses. So this definitely also shows, especially for people who are employed, but not just employed, this is a time when you might be seeing an increase in your savings, your finances overall, because it's also aspecting the 4th house. You're going to find your home environment particularly satisfying during this time, very comfortable. You might be drawn to just spend more time at home during this time. You just really are going to love to be at home, close to your little nook of security. And this might also be some, good time, especially if you also have Mars here. Like, let's say someone has Mars in the 4th house, or somehow Mars connected to the 4th house or to Jupiter in your horoscope. This is a good time for dealings connected to real estate or vehicles. So let's say it could be a good time to change your home into a bigger home, or more comfortable home, one that is more to your liking. Or you could maybe upgrade your car, get a nicer car, something like that. Of course, could even be something like a bicycle, electrical bicycle, or whatever, right? Anything that has to do with real estate, home, or just get a property for investment, stuff like that. So you might be more favored during this time. Like, you're going to find that somehow the right property is going to show up. If you're looking for rent, for instance, you might find that it's going to be a little bit easier during this time than usual. And also Jupiter being there, you're going to also just have, first of all, you're going to feel closer to your family of origin, especially your mother. And especially since Jupiter is aspecting both the 2nd and the 4th houses, both of these have to do with the family of origin. So this shows good relations with the family of origin during this time. And it just shows a particular closeness towards them during this time, right? You might feel particularly affectionate towards your family of origin, and you might also just feel a stronger desire than usual to reconnect maybe with family during this time. You have, let me see, also Jupiter and Saturn are both aspecting the sixth house, which by and large is a good thing. Since Saturn rules the eighth house, though, there could be some transformation happening with respect to your health. And this could be either a good thing or a bad thing. It does depend on other, placements in your individual horoscope. But for the most part, I would say that this is just, it's neither a very strong aspect, so it's not going to guarantee some kind of a huge change with respect to your health, but it does show that this is a good time to implement changes with respect to your health, especially health-related issues. Health issues that are related to your everyday routines, right? So any way that you can help your health by changing your everyday routines, like maybe taking up healthier habits, eating a healthier breakfast, getting more rest, exercising regularly, stuff like that. So during this time, basically your everyday routine will be particularly impactful on your health. This is also, if you have pets or if you have considered getting pets, this is a favorable time for that, provided that you also are very thorough. So you take into account every possibility that with respect to what might go wrong and what this pet will need, because you have that Saturn aspect. So this could also show that, Saturn will put you to the test to test your discipline and your commitment towards issues to do with the sixth house. So this includes pets, this includes competitions, this includes, last but not least, your health overall. All right, so let's see what else. You have Rahu, very interesting. Aspecting, so Rahu will be sitting in the 11th house, and it's co-ruling the 9th house. This is really interesting. So this could show that, first of all, relations with friends are going to attract your attention a lot. Since Rahu's going to be in Aries most of the year. It's only going to move into Pisces in December 2023. And up until that point, you're going to put a lot of work into the 11th house area. So this stands for gains, it stands for friendships and network circles and elder siblings if you have them. But since Rahu is co-ruling the 9th house in your horoscope, this shows that mostly there's going to be a lot of gains coming from foreign lands, maybe dealings with foreigners, especially since Rahu and the 9th house are both connected to foreigners and foreign cultures. So you could be getting, opportunities through overseas acquaintances, overseas friends, maybe could give you recommendations, stuff like that. Or just they will bring a lot of happiness to you. It may not actually just be, material gain. It's just that you're going to have more opportunities to socialize and to just enjoy yourself. However, there's also, again, a bit of a darker tone to this aspect because both Rahu and Saturn are aspecting the 11th house. So this does show that even though there will be some gains going on, they're not going to be astronomical, and there will also be some significant frustrations there because Saturn, again, creates obstacles, delays, frustrations. So this could take a number of different interpretations, and of course a lot depends on what is going on in the individual horoscope. You could be having a situation where, let's say, a friend of yours has said that they will visit you from abroad, but something happens, like, their flight gets canceled at the last minute, and now you have taken on and now maybe you've taken some days off, right, to receive them, and stuff like that. Little nuisances like that could happen. Just to give you an example, and I don't want you to be paranoid, but especially since Saturn is ruling the ninth house, you do want to be careful in any dealings that have to do with the 11th house and that have to do with the friends department of your life, because basically when you have Saturn influences, you want to be, in that mentality of hope for the best, expect the worst. Basically, you try to be prepared for all kinds of different scenarios of what might go wrong. And also, the 11th house does also show monetary gain as a direct result of your professional life. Since you have Saturn and Rahu there, this shows that at least during this time, there's not going to be astronomical gains financially from your career. So be careful, don't overspend, don't be, I don't know, basically try to, how should I put it, plan your finances as best as possible. So don't take any huge risks during this time or huge investments or anything like that, because at the end of the day, when you have Saturn aspecting things, this just shows, and again, this just shows that the more effort you put into your career, and especially towards your ninth house area, the better your gains are going to be. So this is also why it's really important to maintain good relations with mentors, father figures. And this includes people in the work environment or in university if you are a student of any kind, right, to basically respect your elders, quote unquote. And that's how you're going to keep Saturn happy. And maintaining humility also with respect to how much you know or how much you think you know on any particular topic. And let me see. But overall, yes, mostly this is going to have a positive outcome, I think. And what else do I see here? Now, you also have Rahu and Saturn are also aspecting the third house together. And then you also have Rahu aspecting the seventh house. So this is a little bit interesting as well. Rahu, again, ruling the ninth house. The third house is the house of neighbors, your willpower. It's also the house of younger siblings and of your voice, for instance, your voice, your vocal cords especially. So you also have this Rahu Saturn aspecting here. Rahu co-ruling the ninth house and Saturn ruling also the 8th and the 9th houses. So you have 8th and 9th house influences here. So again, there could be something going on, some kind of a transformation happening with respect to this area as well. And there could be, this is interesting. Like, of course, this could, again, it could be interpreted in a number of ways, but one way to interpret it is there could be some kind of a transformation literally happening with respect to your neighborhood. And again, this can go hand in hand for people that might consider moving to a different place, like I mentioned initially, because you also have Jupiter aspecting the 4th. So this is a good time to, move to a different area. However, having, this transformation aspect, and it's also being done by a malefic, you might be dealing with some kind of unpleasantness surrounding the neighbors during this time. Again, it could be minor annoyances, or it could be even some significant transformation, like, I don't know, constructions in their neighborhood, stuff like that. But it's really interesting because you also have the 9th house aspecting the 3rd house. So this could also somehow, the transformation could have something to do with 9th house. So again, this could be very specific, but for some of you, you might find out that there's some kind of religious place of worship being built into your neighborhood, or you might find that there are just more religious people coming to your neighborhood or living in your neighborhood. This can also mean, constructions, yeah, with respect to your neighborhood, and can also be, so either with respect to what might change in your neighborhood, you might find either there will be like places of worship that are being physically, appearing in the neighborhood. But I would say not so much like actual physical buildings. I would say it's more to do with the neighbors themselves. You might find yourself suddenly realizing that the neighbors around you are very religious, very orthodox, traditional of something. And or they might also be very educated because you have that ninth house influence. So I don't know, maybe you're going to be neighbors with a university professor or a religious leader or something like that. Or it could be maybe literally buildings, although that depends. If somehow the fourth house is also involved in your horoscope, that could be a thing. Right. But this is a particular, description that may or may not, and of course it could just be a subtle thing. I mean, I know people who don't even know their neighbors at all, so even if new people are moving in, you may not even notice them. But another way to interpret this is you might be learning something during this time through your education, through your book, maybe through books, or maybe through a mentor, through courses that will have some kind of a transformative way that will basically transform the way you see things, your general thought patterns, the way you think. And also, you could be getting a lot of inspiration and a lot of energy to pursue new goals during this time, because the third house is also the house of willpower. So Saturn actually aspecting the third house, also Rahu. This could show you are way more willing to get out of your comfort zone with respect to learning new things, taking new approaches. You might also particularly enjoy investigative work, like even things like psychology, self-analysis, stuff like that during this time. And yeah, so you might be going through some kind of significant transformation with respect to the way you see things and with respect to the way you approach your goals in general. Now, Ketu is in the fifth house, so this shows during this time you are not going to have much interest in fifth house matters. Either that, or it's not that you don't have any interest, it's more like you're going to take a spiritual approach towards the fifth house. So fifth house rules children, dramatic expression, creative expression, hobbies, things you do out of love, things you do for fun. It also rules romance and romantic love, dating, the courtship phase of a relationship. So having Ketu here can either show that you will just not be interested in any of these things in this year. And again, a lot of this will depend a lot on what other individual placements you have in your horoscope, of course. If you have other planets in the fifth house in your horoscope, this could be, this interpretation could be significantly different for you. But either you're going to be losing your interest towards fifth house matters, or you're going to be taking a new spiritual approach. Another way to look at it is not only will you be taking a spiritual approach to these things, but you might actually become a little bit competitive during this time with respect to these topics. Like, let's say, I don't know, like you want to get into a drama competition, or actually not just drama. Like I said, fifth house is connected to dramatic arts most of all, but it's also connected to any kind of creative expression. So any kind of art, anything that will fall under the category of a hobby. So things that you do for fun in your free time. So you might become really competitive during this time with respect to your hobbies, right? Maybe you might feel the urge to enlist in a competition, or you're just gonna find yourself maybe comparing yourself to others. That's a more negative expression in the sense that, like trying to compare yourself with how others are doing in whatever your interests are. That might take away some of the joy that you have with respect to this interest. And with respect to children, I would say, I mean, if you have children, you might have maybe a higher than average tendency to neglect them. And if you don't have them, well, you're definitely not going to start wanting them now. Let me put it like that, because Ketu just shows you're probably just not going to be thinking about this area too much during this year, not particularly unless there's an emergency. And like I said, unless you already have children, and also if you have some emergencies connected to them. Right. It could also be that your kids, if you have them, might start to act more Ketuvian. So you might see them becoming more introverted. Worst case scenario, they might become more ostracized. So be careful about that, because, you know, like maybe it could show that your kid is not doing well in school because they're feeling left out or something like that. Or they might start to develop a feeling of not belonging. So be careful about that. Obviously, you know, try to make sure that they're fine. And yes, basically that's mostly what I can tell from this aspect. But in general, Ketu will be aspecting the 5th, the 1st, and the 9th houses. So these are all the fire houses. So this also shows that you're not going to have a particularly strong vitality during this period, right? And this is actually, again, throughout most of the year, minus the last month. The whole time when Rahu's in Aries, Ketu will be in Libra. So you might find yourself having less energy than usual, and you might find yourself maybe getting more tired, also because Saturn is also in the 9th house as well. And again, this could vary a lot depending on individual horoscopes. Like maybe in your individual horoscope, you have a lot of vitality, a lot of energy, so it will easily offset the impact of this aspect of this transit. But overall, yeah, you might find that you are getting tired more easily and stuff like that, which is, you know, nothing to really worry about. Just make sure that you are getting enough rest. If that is what your body requires, then make sure that you are providing it, right? So, moving on to the chart 2 phase, which goes from around April 19th until December 2nd, 2023. So this time, Jupiter will move in Aries together with Rahu. Rahu and Jupiter become roommates, basically, which changes things, makes things, usually, for the most part, it changes things for the better, because when Jupiter moves in with Rahu is basically going to not be able to do the usual shenanigans that Rahu is used to doing. So Jupiter, being the great benefic, touching Rahu, will kind of give a blessing connected to that area. So in your case, Jupiter moving in with Rahu in the 11th house, and also since Jupiter rules the 10th and the 7th houses, again, this is most likely going to be the time of the year when you will start reaping the financial gains. The financial gains and the financial rewards coming from your professional efforts. And so chances connected to chances of getting, let's say, a promotion, a better job, a higher paying job, maybe a second income, or just anything that constitutes, you know, a source of wealth, are going to increase a lot during this phase. Also, since Jupiter is also aspecting the 5th house, which is the house of speculative gains, you might even be getting, you know, some windfall during this time. And again, if you want to understand this more in detail, you would have to look at every horoscope, because you want to look at things like Ashtaka Vargas, which basically are like individual scores given to each planet to see how strong it is and basically how much it can deliver. Because, right, some people could have a great conjunction that shows wealth and gain, and maybe they'll just, win a free, a free pack of beers or something, and another person might actually win the lottery, or they will get a job that pays twice as much as the previous one paid, just to give you an example, right? So this is why it's also important to look at individual charts. But overall, this conjunction is mostly going to be positive. Most likely there will be some gains coming from your career and also potentially through your spouse or your long-term romantic partner. And this is true, yes, like I said, it's true irrespective of whether you're officially married with this person or not. So maybe the partner will be getting a promotion and therefore your lifestyle will get better as well. So what else can I say? Also, a lot of everything that I said with respect to Rahu actually stands. However, Jupiter coming in there, this shows that with respect to social contacts and socializing, friends, stuff like that, things are mostly going to change for the better. There might still be minor frustrations there, but because of Jupiter's aspect, mostly everything will be turning out positively. And let me check something. Yeah, this is also, by the way, can I just say this, a great time to get married. It's a great time to get married for the, well, considering the fact that you have already been in a serious relationship, I would say most likely. I don't know about how good this would be with respect to meeting someone new because a lot of things. Because you also have Ketu in the fifth house during this time, and you also have Rahu. So it depends, okay? Because you have Jupiter aspecting the seventh house, and also Jupiter rules the 10th house, and you have Jupiter conjunct the ruler of the ninth house going in the 11th. So see how this resonates in order to see if this is a good year to meet someone for a long-term romantic partnership. You would have to look at some individual signifiers. I would look for what is Jupiter doing in your chart. I would basically look for how important is Jupiter and Rahu with respect to your partner archetype. Right? Because if you see like that your partner archetype in your horoscope has some similar configurations to what your transits are doing right now or during this phase, then you can say that there are probably good chances you might meet someone for a serious relationship, right? So in this case, Jupiter being connected to the ninth house, let's say if you have in your horoscope the ruler of the seventh house in the ninth house, then that is a confirmation that this might be a good time to meet your significant other. A person that can turn into a long-term relationship or even marriage. But otherwise, this is where, okay, so I'm not going to say overall that this is a great period for meeting someone new, because it does depend on individual configurations. And then you have these aspects on the third house again. So you have the ninth lord, the 10th, the 7th. Yeah. The 8th and the 9th. Everything is aspecting the third house. Wow. Okay. This is, oh, wow. This is actually a great time for you to do your own thing. So if you are a person who has considered starting your own business or any form of independent activity in order to earn money, this is a great time to work on that. You might be getting more opportunities. You might be seeing more progress during this time because of this connection between the 10th house lord aspecting the third. And the third is the house of independence and willpower. So you're definitely going to feel drawn to putting a lot of effort towards maybe getting an independent stream of income, like, I don't know, a side hustle, a hobby that you want to turn into a business, stuff like that. So if you're thinking about that, you should know that this is a great time for that, and you should definitely go for it during this time. Since you also have 8th house influence here, there could be positive transformations with respect to this. So yeah, like for some of you, it could even be that you're going to make significant changes with respect to your profession during this time. like how you work, like maybe you haven't worked from home until now and you want to work from home, or maybe it could be, of course, what you do for a living, the kind of work you do. And last but not least, it could be that some of you are going to branch out in and become more independent. You are going to, leave your secure position, whichever that may be, and decide to do something on your own, even if it's more risky. All right, so let's see. Saturn staying there in the 9th house throughout the entire year. I don't know if I've said this. It does show that there might be nuisances connected to travels in general. And this doesn't mean that you cannot travel. Of course, it doesn't mean that, I don't know, something really bad is going to happen when you travel. However, with Saturn, the thing that I always tell people is you need to be extremely prepared. Basically, with Saturn through that house, you always need to be sure that you're taking everything into account, right? That, I don't know, you've got your vaccines ready, like that you have, I don't know, emergency bandages or whatever, like depending on where you're going, right, and what you're doing. But Saturn being there somehow can show frustrations or delays related to travels, especially long distance or long-term travels. But by the same token, Saturn ruling the 8th house shows that you might be getting a chance to travel in a country where there's a foreign language being spoken. Which, I mean, at least in Europe, that's for most cases. If you travel within Europe, every country has its own language. But, if you live outside of Europe, if you live in, I don't know, the US, then that's a significant travel, right? Okay, something else that I want to say. Relationship with the spouse or the long-term partner is mostly going to be positive. Definitely going to be more positive during this phase by comparison to the first phase. I will say this, I don't think I mentioned this, I wanted to, but I probably forgot. This stands for both the first chart phase and the second chart phase. Because Rahu is aspecting the 7th house, there might start to be some kind of friction, some kind of dissatisfactions connected to the partner that you have had for a long time. So this is especially for people who are in long-term relationships already. You might be getting maybe some kind of a sense that you're no longer, I guess there's no other way to put it. Some people are just going to figure out that they're no longer happy and, maybe seek to change something with respect to the relationship. And you need to be careful because Rahu there, generally aspecting anything, tends to create restlessness, and it tends to create this feeling of the grass is greener on the other side. So be careful if you are actually considering, let's say, leaving a partner, that you're not just doing it on a whim or because you're, bored, you want something new, or because someone new has caught your eyes, and before you test that situation, you just decide to leave your current partner. I'm just, putting different scenarios out there because Rahu always tends to create situations of confusion and sometimes create situations of obsessions with respect to the things that it touches. So, yeah. Also, and speaking of that, for instance, and I feel like this is really potential, this is very specific, and I'm sure that not a lot of people are going to relate to it, but since Rahu does rule obsession, one explanation for the Rahu-Jupiter conjunction there could be becoming obsessed with someone that you might perceive as a husband figure, especially if you are a woman or if you identify as more feminine in your energy, and that's because Jupiter rules the husband figure or the long-term boyfriend archetype. And also Rahu can just show some kind of an obsession connected to friendships, or best case scenario, it can just show obsession connected to doing well in your career, shining in your career, gaining things from your career materially and status and wise and all that stuff. And it also shows, let me think. It shows obsession for knowledge and for growth, right? So you might really have this strong desire to try something new during this time, maybe especially connected to your career. So, and also since Jupiter also rules things like teaching, writing, publishing, stuff like that, and it also aspects the third, the fifth houses, this is a great time for people who have considered maybe getting into writing, anything that allows them to address an audience, stuff like that, you know? So yeah, this is pretty much what I can say about the... Oh, wait, before I finish, since you have Saturn aspecting the sixth alone, this is definitely going to be a time when you really need to watch your health. Especially since Saturn rules the 8th house as well. It rules the 9th as well, but you need to be very careful, right? Be careful with respect to any symptoms that you might get, because 8th aspects to the 6th could show hidden issues that you might overlook. So any minor suspicion that you might have during this time with respect to your health, go check it out. Don't postpone it or anything like that. And, best case scenario with this is a good time to transform your health and your physical appearance if you work on it, positively. And especially by addressing the way you live your everyday routines, right? Make sure that you have healthier routines, right? And yes, this is pretty much what I can say about the chart 2 phase. And now let's go to the chart 3 phase, which is only roughly the last month of 2023. The main difference is Rahu is going to be moving in Pisces. Jupiter will stay in Aries. All right, so now Rahu will be moving in Pisces. This is definitely going to be an eventful year for you, Gemini, with respect to your career and your social status. And also, I would say, with respect to, potentially marriage, spouse area. Okay, there are multiple areas that are very important. But Rahu moving into the 10th house, and it's going to be staying there for a while. This is actually mostly going to be a positive situation, especially since Rahu co-rules the 9th house. And yeah, there could be also, again, this is interesting to see how Rahu is doing here with respect to position by nakshatra, or what other planets are sitting in your 10th house. Of course, there could be differences here to how you read this, but Rahu there most likely is going to bring you more popularity, more recognition, more luck with respect to your career. You might be maybe gaining something because of your knowledge in your career. Or another way to look at this is that your boss, for instance, if you are employed, might decide to send you on further trainings, pay for some courses, stuff like that. So it's mostly a positive thing. And you might also be required to maybe travel a little bit due to your career during this time, because 9th house is long-term travels. And let me see. And of course, another way to look at this is you might actually find a mentor in your workplace during this time, because you have the 9th house lord going into the 10th. And all right. And also the Rahu in the 10th will definitely boost your desire to become successful. You're probably going to have a strong craving for recognition, for being visible within your work sphere. You're definitely going to want to get that, recognition, that material gain, during this time. So you are going to become, maybe in a sense, even a little bit obsessed with this area during this time. All right. Jupiter is going to be alone with Saturn aspecting it from in the 11th house. So this is a good thing mostly. However, Saturn does rule the 8th house and the 9th house still. So there could be again some transformation happening connecting to the 11th house. Of course, this could just mean you could be gaining from 8th house matters and 9th house matters. So you could be gaining from secret connections. That's one way to look at it, especially if you work in a corporate environment, or you could be gaining by getting into a position where you're doing research, for instance, getting into a position where you're dealing with sensitive information, or maybe working for a company that deals with sensitive information. Like, I can think of companies that, you know, deal with cybersecurity and stuff like that. So you would be favored if you are gonna try to get a job for one of these places during this time. They could bring you a lot of financial gain and recognition professionally. So, and aside from that, let me see. Another way to look at this is like, it could be that one of your mentors, your teachers, is going to become your friend. See how that resonates. And another thing, let me see. Rahu aspecting the 2nd house during this time and Ketu being in the 4th house during this time shows that relations with the family of origin will become a little bit more problematic during this time. You might feel more detached from your homeland also, because Ketu is in the 4th house. Not just your homeland physically, but I mean, you could feel detached towards the teachings of your mother, literally towards your mother could be, or your mother's culture, your mother's line of the family, that kind of thing. You could feel more detached about this. And it could also be, also with Rahu aspecting the 2nd house, it could be that, again, you just feel there's some kind of a separation happening between you and the family of origin. And it doesn't, like, mostly it's going to be feeling. So I'm not actually saying there's going to be some huge arguments or anything like that. But you're just going to feel more detached. You might feel like you don't belong. And these feelings are going to be sort of exacerbated during this time. And also, since you have Rahu aspecting the 2nd house there, you might become a little bit more extravagant when it comes to your expenses. So be careful about that. And let me look what else is going on here. Right. And also, Rahu does also rule things like addiction. So be careful. Okay. Now, obviously, not everyone has issues with addictions, but especially things like substance abuse, right? Especially since Rahu is going to be in Pisces during this time. Be careful. And I especially have to talk about your health again, because Rahu is aspecting the 6th house now together with Saturn. So this is going to be the time of the year, and of course it's going to be continued even after the after the end of 2023, because it's not just going to last 1 month. You need to be very careful about any substances you might become addicted to, any kind of addictions you might have. You know, nip them in the bud, basically. Do your best to avoid using substances excessively. I mean, it's fine if you use them occasionally or something, but do not allow yourself to become addicted, because it can really affect your health negatively during this time. So yeah, this is one thing that I would definitely say. Otherwise, since Jupiter is aspecting the 7th house alone during this time, this is probably the best time when it comes to the relationship you have with your romantic partner, and also with a business partner if you have them. And also, Jupiter is aspecting the 5th house alone, so both the 5th and the 7th houses are aspected by Jupiter alone. which are the houses connected to romance and relationships. So this is a good time for romance and rekindling the flame with your significant other, maybe spending time together, you know, having fun together. It's a good time for that, right? And another thing, let me see here. What I said initially about the third house aspect still stands. So you're going to feel again like maybe your willpower, not like maybe, I feel like your willpower is definitely going to be high, especially in these last two chart phases. Your willpower is going to be high, and you might be undergoing some kind of transformation with respect to how you do things in general, your approach towards your goals and ambitions, and also the way that you think of the world in general. And more specifically, this could be again some transformation connected to your neighborhood, you know, maybe new people moving into your neighborhood, and or it could be connected to younger siblings. And last but not least, this could be transformation connected to music. Like maybe you have some kind of a connection to music, maybe you wanted to take on an instrument. So if you have thought about that, that is a good time to do. It's a good time to do that. All right, so this is pretty much what I can say for you, Gemini, and I hope that you have enjoyed this. And if you have, please do not forget to subscribe to my channel and click on the notifications bell to see when I will post a new video. And also, if you're interested in a private reading in astrology, I do readings on a variety of topics. You can email me and I will send you an email with the pricing list and other information about it. And also I do tarot readings as well. You can actually find a link in the description of my tarot channel, actually. So you can find a link in the description to my tarot channel. You can go check it out and see if you like it. Maybe subscribe, would greatly appreciate it. And then in my tarot channel, you can see a link to clients that have given me reviews for private tarot readings, and you can check those out if you are curious to find out more about my private tarot readings and, yeah, whether the customers were happy. So, yes, this is what I wanted to say. And also, please don't forget to comment in the comment section with any feedback that you would like to give. You can come back, of course, throughout the year and let me know how things are progressing. Okay, so thank you again, and I hope to see you at my next video. Bye.